Welcome in. It is Outkick. It is a Friday. We are rolling into Memorial Day weekend. I hope that all of you out there are having a fantastic start to your day or your long weekend if you have already begun your vacation. This is not a normal show. We've done a lot of quote-unquote normal shows over the years, going back to 2016 when I took over in the mornings with Fox Sports Radio. For those of you who have not heard, and I would bet it's probably the majority, I don't think a lot of you sit around on social media all day long. I have accepted a new radio job, which will start on June the 21st, a little over 3 weeks from now. And that is to be one of the new hosts in the Rush Limbaugh window. The biggest job, arguably, in all of radio. The only one I can think of that would be remotely similar, probably Howard Stern, and that's on satellite radio. So certainly 20 million people listen to the Rush Limbaugh shows. Some of you may have been longtime listeners of Limbaugh, and as an incredible honor, they came to me and said a couple of months ago, we want you to take over in that noon to 3 Eastern window in the biggest job in all of radio. And I couldn't say no. It is an incredible opportunity. And the thing that made me not immediately say yes was that I have loved doing this show with you guys for 6 years, since 2016 when we started. Now we're into 2021. We've got the biggest and best national sports talk radio show anywhere in the country. And the amount of growth that we've seen on this show has been extraordinary. And the things that we have been through as a radio family have been pretty unprecedented, including what I think is one of the most challenging years in American history. And certainly when you don't have sports for months, and we still came on and talked with you every morning for 3 hours, and we had some of our highest rated shows during that window, that was incredibly gratifying to me. And I'm incredibly proud of the shows that we did and the battles that we fought to ensure that sports were played. I mean, there were a lot of people out there who didn't want sports to be played because of COVID, who didn't believe it was possible to play sports because of COVID. And we won that battle, and I think did an incredible job trying to ensure that not only pro sports, but college sports and also your kids' high school and little league sports were able to be played, since so many sports leagues take their cue from what the professionals or the college ranks do. So there isn't really a roadmap for how to do a final show. It's not like this show is going to cease to exist. They're going to put some incredible people, I'm sure, in here. And my thought is I want to open up the phone lines and leave them open for all 3 hours. We don't have a single guest scheduled. We'll bring in the crew. Phone lines 877-996-6369 in vintage Outkick fashion. The phones are not working, evidently, in Nashville, so we're routing everything through L.A., but I want to give you guys an opportunity to reach out, talk to all of us. And I want to say right off the top, one of the reasons why I am confident this spot, this part of Fox Sports Radio, which many of you start off your mornings listening to, will do well, is because of the people making the choices about who will replace me, and that is Don Martin and Scott Shapiro, who hired me 6 years ago and put me into this chair when a lot of you didn't know me at all. And they have done a fantastic job. They are incredible bosses. They do a phenomenal job running all of Fox Sports Radio, managing all the personalities, and making sure that we put out the best product every single day, all day long, all around the entire calendar. So I know that they're going to do a good job. I think you guys are going to be happy with who they select, and I know they're going to make the right choice or choices in terms of who they pick to replace me here on Outkick. The reason why I feel comfortable going to take over the Rush Limbaugh spot, even though they are absolutely massive shoes, is because Julie Talbot is going to still be in charge of my radio life. And she has been the boss here ever since I started. She recruited me alongside of Don Martin and Scott Shapiro. And she is in charge of everything at Premier Networks. I'm staying in iHeart. It's not like I'm going to a new company. I'm just starting a new job. So I'll be on 12 to 3 Eastern. Many of you probably, like I said, have tuned into Rush over the years, are familiar with his work. And if you are not, I hope that you will come and give us a chance. I'm going to be co-hosting alongside of Buck Sexton. It's been super secretive, I would say, in order to not allow this news to leak. But we have been doing mock shows for an audience of just a couple of people. I think we're going to have a really smart, original, funny, and authentic show, which will connect with a lot of you. And we start really soon, in 3 weeks from Monday. So there isn't some long period of time between when I'm signing off with you and when I'm starting the show. In fact, I'll probably be busier than I ordinarily would be when it comes to actually getting ready for the launch of the new show and being prepared for it. But really, I consider it to be an incredible luxury anytime you have the opportunity to choose how a job ends. Because like a lot of you out there, I've been in a situation where I've liked jobs and walked in, and one day you have a job and the next day you don't. And it might not be because of anything you've done at all. Companies ebb and flow. They make decisions to move on, to decide that you can or cannot stay employed. And so to me, it's always been an incredible luxury. When I left my local radio show that I was doing, it was a tough decision, but I knew it was an opportunity here that was too good to pass up. And now I feel like the opportunity that I'm going to from here is also too good to pass up. So I want to open up phone lines. I've obviously got the crew here, and I want to thank them. But I don't want this to be some maudlin, sad show. I mean, the crew is staying. They're going to be with the new host or hosts who will be taking over for me.
Yeah, we actually have a party planned for later.
Yeah,
this
I know
morning.
you guys are excited. You guys are excited for me to be gone. But I want to say too that when I left, I said I want the crew to be able to be here, and also the only request that I made of Don Martin and Scott Shapiro, I said you can't put some normal woke loser into this chair. It needs to be somebody that fits the overall vibe of this show, and they assured me that would be the case. So, Danny G, you've been here all 6 years now. I'm glad. I had to keep everything super top secret, but I was able to reach out to everybody, even though, of course, Eddie was already in bed and didn't find out until after the news had already broken. But I think I talked to everybody else before the news actually got out there. It was embargoed. Trying to keep it a secret was tough. And I feel like I've just been living in a world of secrets because the Outkick decision with Fox and then the radio shows and everything else. I'm excited to just get back to just focusing on work, but there's been a ton of different moving parts associated with it. So what are your thoughts, Danny G? We've been here for 6 years now, and I know first of all you've done a fantastic job. You got promoted during the course of the show, and I want to say before I bring in everybody that they really have been all phenomenal on this show. I'm proud of the work that we did. I'm proud of the work that they did, and it's been a lot of fun.
Well, thank you, and I know I can speak on behalf of the crew that it's been a wild ride in a good way. This time slot used to be one where it wasn't paid a ton of attention to because you couldn't get a huge name in the time slot. We've talked about it on the show before where Stephen A. Smith was actually here on this same time slot. And he had to stay up late to see the games, and so he couldn't really sleep. He was having trouble with his sleeping pattern, and he didn't last that long. And then we came in to do Outkick, and, I heard all kinds of naysayers. I heard people say, oh, I give this 6 months. This guy's horrible. I Hate You, Clay Travis was a popular segment at the very beginning of your stint here on Fox Sports Radio. And then somewhere along the lines, you turned into America's sweetheart.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Which makes me utterly sick to my stomach because I've known you for almost 10 years now, and the hatred for you was a lot of fun. Especially doing segments like we did, I Hate You, Clay Travis. And then suddenly, every call was like a fanboy of yours or fangirl. And so we had to cancel that segment. I think you're definitely like a fun guy. You grow on people. At first, one listen maybe, people are like, this guy is a jerk.
Yeah.
And my ex-girlfriend, I think she explained you the best when she tuned in and heard you for the first time. She was like, he's a lovable a-hole. I'm sorry, can I say that?
Yeah, we're fine. What are they going to do? I'm leaving.
Yeah, right. And it's true. Like, I know you can come off kind of harsh on the air sometimes, but you just speak your mind. You keep it real. You're the same off the air as you are on the air. I think that's the number one question I get from listeners. When they talk to me on Twitter or on Instagram, when they ask me about the show, they ask, is any of it an act, or is that really how Clay is? And I tell them straight up, I'm like, no, the way he talks to us off the air is the same exact way he talks on the air. That's him. So I love the fact that you've been able to be honest on Fox Sports Radio and not get any blowback from our bosses, because when you and I were working together at NBC Sports Radio Network, we got in trouble all the time. We couldn't talk about anything that was not exactly a sports topic. I remember getting called into the principal's office there more than one time, and one of the times was because you went on a 10-minute rant about how you wanted to be the president of the United States and you hated the time change. I think
what I said was, if I were president of the United States, the first thing that I would do is eliminate the daylight savings.
Yes, there you go.
You basically stay on the time that we're on right now. And that I thought that I could win election just based on that, because at least it would be a tangible impact in people's lives.
Yeah, and I was your update anchor on your weekend show there, and I remember the program director told me, he was like, you could have veered him back into the lane he needs to be in. You guys need to be talking sports. And it was like, sports. If we weren't talking exactly sports, I heard about it. I got a lot of phone calls. I got called into his office a lot. And then we both wound up at Fox Sports Radio, and when I trained on the Jay Moore program, that's where I trained. They did a whole hour, and they maybe did 2 sports topics the whole hour. The rest of the hour was them having fun with the audience and just enjoying life. And I thought, man, what a good fit, because here I got in trouble for talking about non-sports things at my last network. Here, they like it when there's big personalities and we share our lives with the audience and we talk about life and not just sports, but how sports has played a big part in all our lives. And so it was a really good fit for both of us. And when I knew that you were coming here, I was here about a year and a half before you got here. Scott Shapiro, our boss, he told me, he was like, hey, just so you know, I signed this guy named Clay Travis. He started trying to explain to me who you were. And I'm like, hey, I worked with that guy already. He's like, oh, perfect. Good fit. So we got off the ground running. But when you first started waking up early every morning to do this full time, it was different, because I worked with you just on weekends at the First Network. And so the daily grind and what it takes to wake up every morning and do this. I mean, I give such props to the entire team here, because, it's easy as a listener to just flip on your radio or your phone for the app and you hear the finished product, which on our show sometimes is not very finished, but you just hear what happens. You don't know about all the behind the scenes business, and you shouldn't. But if you knew what kind of work and hustle and dedication it takes to especially do morning drive, then I think that everybody would be as proud of you as we are, because this This is great news for Fox Sports Radio and for Premier Networks and for iHeart, because for one of our own to get put in that seat is pretty amazing, dude. Like, I never thought when I was in that program director's office getting an earful about how I needed to guide you on your shift and this and that, and I was in trouble because of something you did. I was thinking to myself, what a jerk. Like, this guy, this college football guy, what a jerk. He's getting me in trouble right here. And I never would have thought in a million years that fast forward 8-9 years, I would get to do this amazing show with you at Fox Sports Radio Network, and then you would get to ascend to the Rush Limbaugh time slot. What an amazing day it was yesterday. It was wild.
Yeah, well, first, I mean, you've done great work, and I'm going to bring in all the crew, and we're going to go around the horn and everything else. But I do think the time slot factors in a big way here, because I had never gotten, I'm going to be honest, like there is audio of me. I did middays, I did afternoon drive, and I remember the first person to tell me, hey, Fox Sports Radio wants you. And I was like, oh, that's great. That was John Ince, who was one of the top people at Fox Sports, a fantastic guy. And he said, but he laughed. He was like, and I was like, well, what time slot? And he laughed, and he was like, well, 6 to 9 a.m. Eastern. And obviously I'm in Nashville, which is Central Time Zone, so that's 5 to 8 a.m. Central Time. And so when your alarm goes off in the 4 a.m. hour, as has happened for a lot of times over this 6 years, to get up and be ready to go, that's a big challenge. I mean, and I'm proud of the product that we put out a lot of times, and I know you guys are too. But for that exact moment, you mentioned Stephen A. Smith, staying up till all these games end and then waking up the next morning, sometimes on 2 or 3 hours of sleep, depending on how late many of the different shows are completed, and then doing 3 hours, and then running Outkick and doing television as all those different things grew and stacked up. I know a lot of you out there who are up right now work hard, and when that alarm goes off, you roll over and you're like, oh man, I can't believe this. Every morning I legitimately took a moment and said, I'm fortunate to have the job that I do. There's a lot of people who are waking up at this same hour that don't like their job at all. The least I can do is make their day a little bit more fun than it otherwise would be as they get ready to start their day, or candidly, as they finish their day on the West Coast, as many people out there listening to us right now are doing, because you may have a late night job. And I know a lot of you have shift work all over the country, so it's not just people starting off their day. It's a lot of people finishing their day as well. Dub, you've been with us for how long now?
Almost 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's gone by really fast.
It really has.
And you've been based in Nashville. So what's your perspective? What did you expect, and what was your perspective so far on the show in those 3 years?
Well, first of all, just to echo what you said about the early morning wake-up time, the show I worked on prior to this was literally the exact opposite time. It was from 5 to 8 p.m., and
yes.
So when I got on this show, I was like, oh, boy, I'm about to be a morning person, and I am now officially a morning person. I can't sleep in past 6:30 on the weekend, so sometimes that's fun, sometimes that's not. But from my perspective, it's been awesome. It's been a lot of fun. I've learned a lot. I remember my first show here. No one showed me how to work the phones. I had no idea what I was doing, and now I kind of consider myself akin to Alexander Graham Bell in terms of the phone lines, sort of a master. But it has been an awesome ride. And yesterday, to echo what Danny G said, I remember you texted me in the morning. He's like, hey, give me a call when you get a sec. Got some news. And I was like, oh, well, Clay's probably just.
Yeah, what did you think that what did you think the news was going to be?
I thought you were just going to tell me that you were going to be on the show tomorrow instead of Jonas and Brady, which we already knew. And I was talking to Danny G yesterday, and he said that was his first thought as well. And then I gave you the call, you gave me the news, and I was obviously not expecting that. So obviously a huge congratulations to you is in order. That is an unbelievable role to fill. But it's been a lot of fun. I enjoy every morning coming on with you and the crew. It's kind of weird for me because I'm here in the studio in Nashville kind of all by myself. It's kind of amazing how a radio show can have so many different moving parts and seem so seamless live on the radio.
Yeah, for people out there who aren't aware, like I'm actually down in Panama City, by the way, with my guy DJ Big Boy, who I may need to get on for long-term listeners. But usually I've had a home studio, and then Dub is in a studio in Nashville, and then the whole crew, the rest of everybody is in LA. So we have 3 different locations. It's not like we have video looking at each other or anything like that. And I think we have a fairly seamless conversation across all those different radio networks, even though we're not present face to face. And yeah, that's and obviously we've had a lot of tech difficulties over the years that we have made fun of, including Dub, by the way, that it's kind of perfect. The phones are not working in Nashville, and/or you're not confident enough in them.
It's more of a level of confidence issue because throughout this past week, there's been some pretty major issues with the phones, and as poetic of an ending as it would be for the final show, for the phones not to work, I figured it was in my best judgment to go ahead and get them switched to the reliable Sherman Oaks office.
Yeah, so we don't have as many lines as we ordinarily would, but again, I'll start taking your calls in the next segment, 877-996-6369. Eddie Garcia, who has been doing updates now since he stepped off the beaches of Normandy, you were in bed, and the only person that I did not talk to before, which is probably perfect as well, before the news broke, because I couldn't say anything. And by the way, contracts didn't get signed until yesterday, so I didn't want to say anything in advance. But what did you think when you saw that you had a text from me?
Yeah, unlike Danny and Dub, I knew something big had happened. I was just hoping it was something positive, and,
yes.
And certainly for you it was. Congratulations on the opportunity that you have. I'm happy for you. I have worked here for almost 20 years, and I've been in this time slot for a long time because I actually enjoy it. A lot of people probably wouldn't want to do it, but I worked with Stephen A. I've worked with a lot of different people.
You were on the show when Stephen A. was here.
I was, yes. And
I don't know if I even knew that.
Yeah.
You might have said that before, but yeah.
It was pretty obvious that he wasn't going to last too long because, as you said, he just he could not handle the time issue. But it's been great. I think this show came along at the perfect time. I am a little bit sad that, I hope whoever fills in and takes over that we can kind of continue the theme of the show, but I really think this type of show is so needed in this time because of the things and the agendas from other networks, and especially in the sports media. If you talked about it, the reason I wanted to work in sports is because of my love of it and how it brings people together. And now it seems like there's so many things that are trying to tear that apart. So hopefully that type of radio can continue because I think it's really, really needed. And the job you did in filling that role, I think was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, look, we are, I think, a necessary response to what is the prevailing perspective that exists in the world of sports, which has become intensely political. And some people can say, well, you're going to take a political job. And I would say, well, I mean, partly that's true, but we're going to have the mandate on the new show to talk about anything and everything. So it's not like I'm not going to talk about sports when they are the major story that's going on. But I would say it's fairly significant that I am leaving a sports show to do a political show, as opposed to trying to turn a sports show into an entirely political show, if that makes sense. Like, there is a difference, and I understand that difference in that for 6 years we tried to lead every day with sports, right? Like, even when there was no sports going on during COVID. But one reason that I'm confident in making the move to the new show is while COVID was going on and we had no sports, our ratings and audience skyrocketed in terms of the number of people that were listening to us. And I think that has to do with trust, because you guys, which I tried to never take for granted, trusted me to be honest with you and share factual information with you during COVID in a time when, frankly, I think a lot of people lost trust in media and also, candidly, politicians and just celebrity culture in general. And our audience skyrocketed. And that told me, the data did, people are here for my opinions, not necessarily just my opinions on sports. And I think with the larger mandate on the new show, we're really going to skyrocket in a way because the audience is already so big, in a way that no sports show ever could. And I love sports, but those of us who wake up every morning and check sports scores are a minority of the overall population. We think we're everybody because if you love sports, you assume that everybody else loves sports too, but we're a niche. And when you can break outside of that niche and talk to the entire country, as I believe I'm going to be able to do in my new show, it's just an opportunity that was too hard to say no to. You want to give us an update, by the way, Eddie, while we're talking to you? And I know I was up late last night watching that Predators loss. And otherwise, we got a lot of NBA and NHL action going on.
Yeah, of course. We'll start with the NBA playoffs, continuing in the first round where the Lakers beat the Suns 109-95, much to the delight of Danny G and Roberto. Anthony Davis, 34 points, 11 rebounds. LeBron James, 21 points in the win for LA as they grab the 2-1 advantage in the series. Nuggets go to Portland, beat the Trailblazers 120-115. Nikola Jokic, 36 points, 11 rebounds for Denver. Damian Lillard, 37 points in a losing effort for Portland. Denver now has a 2-1 series edge. The Bucks handle the Heat in Miami 113-84. Milwaukee now with the stranglehold on the series, leading 3-0. Chris Middleton, 22 points. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 17 points, 17 rebounds. NHL playoffs. Unfortunately, your Preds, Clay, lost to the Hurricanes in overtime 4-3. Carolina wins that series 4-2, and they will face Tampa Bay in the Central Division final. Canadians stay alive, beating the Maple Leafs 4-3 in overtime. Nick Suzuki, game winner in sudden death for Montreal. Toronto still has the 3-2 advantage in the series. A couple of baseball games. The Brewers beat the Padres 6-5 in 10. Dodgers over the Giants 4-3. San Diego's lead over LA in the NL West is down to a half game. Now back to Clay Travis in the Outkick the Coverage studios.
All right, we got to hit the break. I'll bring in Roberto when we come back right out of the break. 877-996-6369. No guests. We're going to have open phones throughout all 3 hours. It is the final Outkick show that I will be doing. Great replacements, I'm sure, will be in this chair. We're talking about the fun we've had and letting you guys weigh in. 877-996-6369. We'll hope the phones actually work. This is Outkick on Fox Sports Radio.